Hey everyone, so we're diving into a pretty big shift happening in the global power structure. A brand new report from the Lowy Institute has just changed the game for one of the world's biggest countries, and trust me, it has some huge implications for Asia. And here's the headline. According to the 2025 Asia Power Index, India has officially crossed a really critical line. It's no longer being called a middle power. No, it's now ranked as a major power. In the world of geopolitics, that is a massive deal.
But that's the real question, isn't it? Major power. It sounds super impressive, but what does that label actually mean? What does a country have to do to get it, and what does it really tell us about where India stands today? Okay, let's get into it. To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to put it all in context. So first up, let's look at where India now fits into the rankings, and, how this whole system even works in the first place.
Okay, so take a look at this. You can see the clear hierarchy. At the very top, you've got the two superpowers, the US and China. They're just in a league of their own. But then, right there at number 3, you have India. And you can see it just squeaked over that crucial 40-point line. That's the threshold that bumps it up from a middle power, where Japan and Russia still are, into that exclusive major power club. It might not look like a huge jump in points, but in terms of status, it's a world of difference.
So how do they even come up with these scores? Well, the Lowy Institute has this really smart way of looking at it. They basically break power down into two big ideas. First, you have resources. Think of this as the raw ingredients of power. Your economy, your military hardware, your population. It's the stuff a country has. But then, and this is key, there's influence. And that's all about what a country does with its stuff. Are you good at diplomacy? Do you have cultural pull, strong relationships? This difference between resources and influence is absolutely central to India's story right now.
Okay, so let's see how this actually played out for India. What was it that pushed it over that 40-point line? Well, the answer is all about the first part of that power equation, its growing pile of resources. The biggest single driver here is India's economic engine. For 2025, it's ranked number 3 in the entire region for what they call economic capability. This is really the foundation of its new major power status.
And this isn't just some number on a chart. For the very first time, India has actually leapfrogged Japan in this category. To overtake an economic giant like Japan, that's a huge milestone. It just shows you the incredible momentum behind India's growth.
And it's not just about the money. India's military capability score has been ticking up too. The report actually calls out that experts have a better opinion of its abilities now, and that's probably because of how it handled Operation Sindoor back in May 2025. That recent real-world experience is definitely making people see its military in a stronger light.
So its resources are growing, it's got the major power title. Case closed, right? Well, not quite. Remember that second part of the power puzzle? Influence? This is where we get to the giant but in India's story.
And the Lowy Institute itself nails it with this quote. There's a real disconnect between India's ambitions and the actual influence it has on the ground. Basically, it's got all this raw power, but it isn't quite turning it into the kind of regional clout you'd expect. They actually have a name for this. It's called the power gap. And it's a brilliant idea. It measures how good a country is at converting what it has into what it can do. Are you punching above your weight, or are you punching below it?
And this table just lays it all out. It's fascinating. You've got the overachievers like Japan, which manages to squeeze way more influence out of its resources than you'd think. And then you've got the underachievers. And that is exactly where India lands, with a score of minus 4.0. It has more potential power than it's actually using. So the obvious question is, why?
So where's the problem? Well, the report points to a few weak spots. The biggest one is its defense networks, basically its alliances, where it ranks a pretty dismal 11th. It even dropped 2 places this year. This means its formal partnerships just aren't as strong as they should be. Bottom line, its diplomatic muscle hasn't been working out as much as its economic and military muscle.
And of course, you can't have a conversation about power in Asia without bringing up the other giant in the room. So, how does India's rise really look when you put it right next to its biggest rival, China?
Okay, here is a massive win for India. For years, China was the go-to place for investment. But in 2025, that flipped. India has now overtaken China as the top spot for investment in Asia, second only to the US. And the reason? It's all about geopolitics. Businesses are trying to spread their risk and move supply chains away from China. That's a huge economic victory for India.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, while that investment news is great, let's zoom out to the big picture.
China's overall power score is almost 74. India's is 40. That is a huge gap. And here's the real kicker. The report says the gap in actual capability, in raw resources, between India and China actually got wider this year. So even as India makes progress, China is still pulling away.
So, what does this all boil down to? Where does a new major power like India go from here? What's the path forward?
When you look at the whole picture, the story of India in 2025 is really a tale of two halves. It is without a doubt a growing giant. Its economic and military resources are getting bigger and stronger, and that's what earned it this new title. But its ability to translate all that raw power into actual influence on the world stage, that's still a work in progress. It's a story of incredible potential that just hasn't been fully unlocked yet.
And that really leaves us with the billion-dollar question. India's already proven it can build its might. But the next and maybe much harder challenge is learning how to wield it. Can it build the alliances, master the diplomacy, and finally learn how to convert all that growing power into real influence? The answer to that question is going to define not just India's future, but the future of all of Asia.